Hey guys, I'm Mickey T and welcome back to my hardcore world, where for 1,000 days we've survived building a dwarf themed mega base. But today we're taking a break from all the dwarven shenanigans to expand our Tolkien inspired world, as I really want to challenge myself to spend the next 100 days building a cozy Shire area for some villagers. But if you're a fan of fantasy or Lord of the Rings, or you just want to support me continue this series for as long as possible, please consider hitting that subscribe button and certainly hitting that like button, as it really helps me out. However, let's jump into the video. Well, I might be a little late to the party, but I am on 1.21 right now, which does indeed mean that currently we have no replay mod. Whether you love it or hate it, I absolutely rely on it, and that means we can't really do a lot of mining in the current Dwarven Kingdom, so we are definitely stocking up so that we can head into our cozy era. So with plenty of food stocked up, on day 1245 we're heading out west to where we found the open plains biome in the previous episode, in which we've landed at the village where it was actually really close to a pillager outpost. I'm finally going to use this time to get some totems, so when the replay mod comes back, we can jump straight back into our Dwarven Kingdom and start building again. So day one, I've already stolen a villager's bed and decided to sleep the night away, as I don't typically like to sleep on this hardcore world, but it's going to help us get started. But as we're starting from nothing in this little cozy challenge, I'll need to go ahead and gather some wood so we can actually use them to build up and kill some of the iron golems around the village to get some of our starter iron. There we are, we have our first 4 iron ingots, very nice. Craft a crafting bench. So with a quick stop just to grab everything out the chest from over there, I do know that we do need a cauldron for this design that we're going for, and funnily enough we also need a bucket of lava, so thank God for this lava over here. Bucket of lava got. Also, don't you think it'd be crazy if throwing a bucket of lava would set the house on fire, even if it was just because there's lava in the bucket and it's that hot? I don't know, random side thoughts. I also know that we need a boat and we need a hopper, so we need a hopper, a chest. I want to go ahead and build this little tiny farm out of blocks that are going to make it look a bit like a ruined building. So we'll need to craft a quick set of shears and just head over the river to this nearby oak tree, get all the leaves. Very bushy success. Now we just need to head towards the pillager outpost and build this farm. So there's the pillager outpost, but I believe in this design, in 1.21, because of the change to the raids and the ominous bottle, I think we can actually build this anywhere. But I also want to keep in mind that we do need to get a villager over here, so I'm not going to go too far away. What I might do very quickly, and I say very quickly, it's probably going to take me a little while, is just terraform the land and tear it down a bit. And yes, full disclosure, I did almost just say, let's get the time lapse rolling, but we don't have it, so let's get to work. Well, it looks like a bomb's gone off, but we have just about finished digging out the area. But I have noticed that there is a small cave area here, so I'm going to try and run around and fill this in with all the dirt that we've just mined out as quickly as I possibly can. In which I've now resorted to digging out the dirt with my hands because I don't want to destroy my shovel, and I also really want to challenge myself to not have to leave this area, so I can't leave to go and repair it. Yep, this is my life now. I have now resorted to killing zombies with the shovel in my offhand to try and repair it. Not because I need it, just because I really don't want it to break, so... Well, that only took half an hour, but we can now finish off by placing down some andesite and mixing it in with cobblestone to add a sort of pathway. A little bit of a random transition, but I may have fudged up on a major level. There's a ravine right next to it. No... So I may have found a slight workaround in that apparently raids will not spawn any further than 64 blocks away from the player. So I've come 100 blocks away from that ravine. So step 1, we simply just need to dig a 5x5 area. 2, 3, 4, 5. Then we place down 8 blocks in the corner. Place a sign down. Place water in the opposite corner to the wall. So it should look a little bit something like this, but I will put the link in the description down below for anybody that wants to build this themselves. Now we're flying away to head over the pond, over to the village, to grab a villager and get him back to the farm, which is arguably the most arduous part. Let's make a boat first, as this should get him far enough away from the village so he doesn't try and run back to his friends. And it seems to be working. Let's get him in the boat again. Now he should fall down there. Yep, and he's in the correct part of the boat, I believe. So now we need to get an ominous bottle, which we can get from killing raid captains. So over to this pillager outpost we go. You're not a raid captain. Finally! Jesus Christ. I have literally killed about 50 of these things now, and that's taken me about 35 minutes. But we can head back to the farm. So as they say in the biz, there's no time quite like the present. And I wish everybody a good luck. Wave 1 over. And wave 2 done. Wave 3 may have gone slightly wrong, as the Ravager doesn't seem to be dying. Why are you not dying, Mr. Ravager? Why? Okay, so this could be a very easy fix. Apparently, it's just as simple as these need to be top slabs, not solid blocks. So, that's my bad. Whether or not I'm going to be able to get in and kind of... Oh, boy. Oh, boy. Well, that didn't go according to plan. Are they going to leave me alone, or are they just going to chase me forever now? That's the question. Managed to get back on my feet somehow. Oh, we got hero of the village. And let's go and have a look at our loot. Oh, that's a lot of totems of undying. Oh. Well, we can finish up the first segment of this video by equipping our first ever Totem of Undying. And I have installed a texture pack which makes it a little bit smaller so it's not in your face. But that means we can now know that we're probably not going to die as easily in our hardcore world. I am sorry to those that really wanted to see me kind of do this without any of the help from the Totems of Undying, but there's only so much a man can take before he finally gives in to all of the people that tell him off for not using one. But now let's move on to the next segment of the video. I think the first thing we need to do in this episode before we actually get to work doing anything else is gathering up the villagers. So first we have to go around breaking all the beds so that they won't run off into the houses at night. And I've stored some of them in other chests, but that should be all of the beds, meaning that they should all congregate at the village center when it turns nighttime, where we can build a temporary little structure around them in order to entrap them so we can tear all these houses down and rebuild it as a cozy little shire. It seems not all of them actually congregated to the center. Some of them went back to the home, so I've just dug a 2-block deep pit. We're just going to push as many as we can into here, and then we'll save them and release them once we've actually finished with this project. So the next time we see these guys will be when our little Shire area is complete. So to try and keep on top of everything and avoid me getting lost and getting halfway through and stopping like I usually do with these projects, I'm breaking this episode down into 3 different sections. We're going to have the planning, the prepping, and then we're going to finish off with the building and hopefully get it all done within 100 days. So to get started with the planning, what I'm going to go ahead and do is place down 2 chests that we can use as a kind of center point. The first job I think we need to do is narrow down this river area here and this one just to the left of it so that it looks like a river that's coming down and then goes into the little lake. And we will keep this lake as I think it's a nice little addition that separates the little Hobbit town from the scary area over there and where the quote-unquote ancient ruins are. I think where this lava pool is where we'll go ahead and build an inn where the Hobbit inhabitants will come. We'll probably go ahead and we'll keep this pathway, but we will do some transforming, and I think we'll make like a little center here where all of these buildings are, but we will have to take all these down and kind of rebuild them. But we'll have the path kind of curve around away from this little inn in this direction, as we'll have some Hobbit homes built into the hill over here. And if we come past the building that we've temporarily used as a base, I think we'll create a little Hobbit mound here where we'll build 1 or 2 more homes. And I think we'll add a little bit of variation by adding just a few smaller little Hobbit huts that are not mounds, but just like little tiny like cottagecore style houses. And then I've also realized that this little area here that's generated naturally, I think I might actually go ahead and keep this, and we'll narrow the river, but then we'll have like this little inbit here where it's quite deep, and we'll also have it on this side because I like the idea of having a little fisherman's area and a little fisherman's hut on this little island. So let's get to work by leveling the village, whilst keeping in mind that we do want to be keeping all of the materials that we gathered here, as I like the color palette and I think it's going to look like a really cozy autumnal vibe to add to our little cozy Hobbit area. Well, my inventory's full, so we need to go and empty it, where we'll put the terracotta separately in here because I think it's going to be the most useful block out of everything. We'll put all the wood related things in this top one here, and back to it. And now we've saved the best till last, the little home that could, the one we started with in this episode. Let's get this all torn down. And there we are. We now just need to get everything in chests as our inventory is full. In which we've gone from this to this. What a transformation, and we haven't even got started yet. And with finally removing the lava pool, we are finished with the planning stage. Although, I'm sure if you've watched me long enough now, you probably know that I don't really plan. I kind of just turn up and try my best, and then give up. I am somewhat joking, of course. I do plan a little bit, but I am definitely more of a person that likes to just do things in the moment when I feel like it, and just try things and just see how it turns out. And to start segment 2 of the video, I've come over to near where our iron farm village is, because as we move on to the resource gatherment phase of this video, I really want to try and stay within the confounds of the Hobbit space, but there's some things that we need that we just can't get. And it's probably just as well that we pick up the gravel as well, because we're probably going to need a fair bit of gravel. Well, I think we've gathered enough sandstone for now, so let's head back and store it in our chests. And as a very quick passing comment as we fly over our dwarven kingdom, I just want to relay the fact that I have absolutely fallen in love with landscaping in Minecraft. It is definitely very quickly becoming my favorite thing to do. And I'm not gonna lie, because the village wasn't there, I definitely temporarily lost the area, but I have now found it. So we can place you in here along with everything else. And I said I wasn't really gonna leave this area, but we do have to head back to our dwarven kingdom just once in this episode, where I'm gonna take some of you, all of you, grab one mossy block, grab some coral for an experiment that I've got in my head, and we're gonna need a lot of spruce, but in the argument of keeping this fair, I'm only taking 4 spruce saplings, and we'll grow our own and farm it whilst we're there. And with the saplings planted, we can casually be gathering the spruce wood, and I think the very first thing now is to go ahead and move on to starting to transform the landscape. It's probably fully worth disclosing that literally just slightly further west, as you've just seen, is literally another village. They are literally so close together that I might even one day extend this little Hobbit area out and just make one giant Hobbiton. But pretty flowers aside, let's gather some dirt. So using the dirt we've just gathered, let's go ahead and plan our river area by creating an outline. And there we are. So now that's all that's left to do is go ahead and fill in these little areas and pockets. And that's one tiny area done, and I may have overestimated this project, as I always do, because this wasn't even the biggest area. This is the biggest area that needs filling in, and this has already taken me about half an hour to do. Anyway, moving on. And that's a second bank done, and there's no time like the present to get started on the biggest bank. Now, unfortunately, we've ran out of dirt and my shovel is running low, so I'm gonna very quickly harvest and replant this spruce, like so. So let's go and put the spruce in the chest whilst we wait for the leaves to decay. And now I'm going to interject a little bit, because a lot of people have commented in the past that I really should get into using nether portals to traverse the world. Now, I have wanted to get into this, but I've always been worried about nether portals just being dotted around, because I don't want to ruin the aesthetic of our fantasy world. So I'm going to disguise one as a hobbit hole, and I am going to go ahead and get that installed. So let's head back to our base to get some obsidian, because I am aware that I keep saying that I don't want to leave the hobbit area, and I'm trying to challenge myself to do as much as possible in the area, but sometimes I really think that I just need to help myself out a little bit, and we need to repair the shovel. So I do need quick access to our end so that I can access the Enderman farm. And flying past, I remembered that we had this portal that we found a while back, so I'm going to go ahead and get the obsidian from it, because I don't actually remember if we have enough obsidian back in the actual base. And we should go ahead and gather the Cossie Mobblestone, because yes, that was a sincere mistake that I made last episode, but we're rolling with it. So first, we're heading back to our end portal to go and make a nether portal. So we just need to place it down, light it up. That's a bizarre nether portal spawn. Okay, so I apologize that it's a bit hard to see, but I thought I'd just show you for context. So here's the new portal that's just been summoned. There's our old one that's connected to our base, so it's not actually as far as I anticipated, so it's acceptable. Now all I need to do is kind of build a platform around it so that I can get onto it and not die. So I should have bought more blocks really, but let's try and land on it and see what we can do. Hey, there we are. Now we just need to place down some blocks. And then we come out right next to the end portal. Now we can go ahead and build the Hobbit one, but I am going to build it behind the wall, so it's going to be hidden by some decorations and stuff so that it's not very obvious, because I don't want it to stick out like a sore thumb. Alright, so I definitely 100% have my bearings now. It took me a second. But now that everything is in place, we can just go ahead and get this completely finished. Well, one broken shovel and 3 hours of placing dirt later, I actually cheated a little bit, in that I got so bored of placing dirt that I decided that we would just go ahead and create this little divot in the land, and this area, I will come back to this and fill this in at a later date, because there's only so much filling in dirt I can take before my brain starts to slowly go insane. However, let's jump over to the main island, but now we're gonna go ahead and start working on planning out the actual homes for the villagers, so we can get to work building a dirt platform, which means we need more dirt as usual. Before continuing on, then we move on to the second platform. The heck? Bro's just having a swim. And we finish off the platforms. And with our spruce planks that we've collected so far, we can go ahead and design the houses, because the purpose of this is that we are going to have a decorated front door, and then each villager is actually going to walk in to an area where they will have their own individual little cubby hole, and each hobbit home is going to have roughly around about 4 to 5 villager homes, just to try and condense it and lighten the workload, as I'm trying to get this done within a 100-day period. And we finally finished the rough platform. And I don't want to be too cruel, but we are going to go ahead and make little 6x6 rooms for each villager. Actually, we made it 7 so that we can actually have a single door instead of a double door because of the even numbers. And I was going to turn the end into another sort of elongated room, but I've decided to go ahead and dig it up so that we just have 4 rooms per hobbit home. So after a quick sleep, we finally have the first layout of the room completed. So let's move on to the second, making another 13 by 15 platform. we can go ahead and fill it in, which with the wood allows us to finish off the second. So moving on to the third Hobbit area, I want to go ahead and try and build it diagonally to just try and experiment and try and extend my skill set in building in different dimensions. Looking something a little bit like this. And now with the loose buildings in place and everything looking good, I can get to work doing the most exciting part of this entire build. Because, as I mentioned earlier, I really have fallen in love with landscaping recently, so let's get to work time-lapsing and doing the landscape so that we can get all the basic path down and understand how the landscape around the Hobbit homes is going to work. So first addressing the elephant in the room, you can tell that the replay mod has now been updated to 1.21 in Minecraft Hardcore, which means that we do now have this back in our arsenal to be able to document the rest of the journey, as we are now over the halfway point into our 100-day challenge of trying to transform this village into a Hobbit hole. So we come up to the mountain where we gathered all of our dirt, as we're going to need some cobblestone to get started on the next part of our project. And now that we're back with the cobble, we can go ahead and start planning the pathway that we're going to use to traverse the Hobbit landscape. Well, we now have a very rough plan of how the roads are going to be laid out, and it gives us a very good start and idea about how we're going to do this. However, a quick trip to our spruce logs and gathering some materials, we return to the front of the Hobbit house, where I actually want to build like little farms in front of each house so that the villagers actually have jobs, aka farmers, so that they can gather food and further breed and keep the villager population alive. But in order to do that, I need to build the front of the houses so I know how far the houses are going to come out. Then I also need to know how many blocks I'm going to have before we hit the pathway, just so we can design this more efficiently. So let's go ahead and get this designed. So with a very quick pit stop over the dark oak forest that we flew over on the way to the Hobbit area, I want to create this sort of dark rich wood beam that looks like it's holding up the dirt above the Hobbit hole. So let's go ahead and extrude this out about 3 blocks. Then all we need to do is go ahead and create an archway that's going to fit in front of this Hobbit hole by maybe using a slab on either side, and then maybe we put down a bottom block. Maybe that's a bit too much. Maybe we put down a top slab and then just extrude this out twice on either side so that it looks a little something like that. Then we can finish up adding a sand and sandstone texture over the top of the wood. And then my idea was to keep the roundness to the door frames and the window frames, as it seems pretty synonymous with Hobbit homes, and it was something that I really wanted to take on board and try and build. With a quick trip to the chest to grab some of the terracotta, we can go ahead and finish off the door frame, adding in some little details on the side just to cover up the sandstone a little bit more. And I actually think I'll go ahead and finish off this area with a little bit more of a wooden detail, finishing off with a dark oak door, as it looks the most rustic of all the door types, before grabbing the glass panes that we took down from the previous village, bang one in there and one in there. Then where we've gone ahead and created some wooden areas, we'll create some little planting pots, in which I may be mildly cheating, as I couldn't miss out on adding in some azalea planters to make the area just look that little bit more adorable. Now we're going to go ahead and use our hoe to create a little farming area for the villagers. We'll go ahead and plant the potatoes that we have. And there's just also one more tiny detail I really want to add. Bit of brown dye from our local forestry area, as I'd like to use brown carpet to just cover over the water, so then as you're flying over or you're walking nearby, the blue water isn't as obvious. Then I went ahead and added fences and use gates in between rather than fences to try and make it look a little bit more minimal. Then the final job is to go around and use bone meal everywhere, getting rid of any of the grass which is 2 blocks tall, as I don't want it to take away or hide away any of the detail in the Hobbit home. Making sure to take away some of the flowers but not all of them, just to make it look like the flowers are more intentionally planted. And so far this is looking awesome. I love the fact that I used these cobble slabs just to kind of make the incline and the walkway up to the house a little bit less aggressive, and it just added in this split texture and made it look as if there's been dirt trodden into the path, but that there was a stone path underneath, as it is important to me that I make this Hobbit area feel as if it's not quite polished, but it isn't quite totally medieval, as I want it to feel like the Hobbits are still finding the roots in terms of their build quality and such, and making things neat and tidy. However, we're going to go ahead and time-lapse finishing off the rest of the homes and detailing them. And that's the Hobbit houses built, and they are looking good. Even the diagonal one doesn't look too bad. I had to do a little bit of a design tweak in order to kind of fit the design, and it doesn't look fantastic, admittedly. Like, if I was to do this again, I would probably have just done it flat. However, it was good to experiment and try and extend my skill set. Now I'm going to go ahead and move on to decorating the pathway fully. So, taking the design that we used in the Dwarven Empire, we're going to go ahead and use a mix of cobble, mossy cobble, and the occasional stone brick to add a slightly textured and overgrown feel to our pathway, as the goal here is to make it seem as if the hobbits have quite a lot of love for nature and just letting it overgrow, as well as just keeping it fairly simple so we're not spending too long creating the pathway, whilst not forgetting to add in the little details of throwing down the occasional pressure plate and stone button to just add the effect of raised stone and some little pebbles. Well, we've certainly made good progress on starting the pathway. However, I do want to change my attention over to where we're going to be building our crop fields, which we are going to need some leaf blocks in order to make the boundaries. So let's get to work gathering some up. And after breaking the second set of shears, we're also going to go ahead and use this night to farm a few more bones for bone meal. And having removed all of the cobblestone where we marked the path before, I can go ahead and start getting to work. And as you can see behind me, this is the inspiration that I'm actually going to use for building and separating the entire farm area. I'm kind of going for that old kind of British style of farmland, which is typically separated using hedges, as I thought this would be a really cheap and easy way to separate the land up, add a bit of a divide, and it makes it feel just a little bit more natural and not so much man-made. Then we get to work placing down the coarse dirt, and from a distance it doesn't look too bad. We now just have to rinse and repeat this design. And that's the last field, finally tilled. But I also noticed last night when editing the video that we didn't quite finish off this circular area for the Hobbit hole. So we've gone ahead and done that. I really should probably fill in that gap, to be fair. So let's go and get a little bit of spruce. And I really could have just got my axe out, but hey ho. And this should conclude that, so we can now move on. And with less than 10 Minecraft days to go until we hit the 100-day mark, I got to work using some of the bone meal we had gathered previously and placing it down to try and grow some grass, to try and hide the edges of the grass blocks, to try and make the banks not seem so sheer, and to just add a little bit more life to our Hobbit area. And then using some of the clay that we smelted earlier, I ran around and used some clay pots to add in little chimneys to our hobbit huts. And so with another quick pit stop to gather some more materials, and returning back to our little camp, as heading over to the river, I'm going to go ahead and design a little stone bridge to connect the two banks. So I went ahead and started by making a basic curved path with slabs, making it 2 blocks wide before going back in and designing the sides and the underneath to make it look like a cobbled stone bridge, and then rinsing and repeating the bridge over by the wheat fields. Now we only have 4 days left of our 100-day challenge, so where I'm stood, I'm gonna go ahead and try and transform into a little town square style area with a little hut. So let's just get to work. So as quickly as possible, we need to go through and place down dirt, raising the level by 1 block. Another quick pit stop to go and get some more dirt from the top of our hill. And even with the sun going down, I think we're going to have to try and work through the night just so we can get this done in time. And we are now in crunch time, gathering some more materials, which will hopefully be our last bunch that we need to collect, as we are getting close to finishing our project. And returning to our chest, we can take the diorite that we gathered earlier and make some andesite, which is going to help, as it'll give us more of a palette to mix in with our little area. So with that in mind, we can now go ahead and get to work placing down all of the blocks, in which I'm not really going with any specific pattern here. I'm kind of just throwing them down, and then what I'll do is I'll go in with a cobblestone last and fill it all in. And just for those that have got this far in the video, I've gone ahead and put a little secret YT for YouTube in there as a little nod to you guys. Then I'll go around throwing in just the odd block of stone brick. I like using stone brick in the floor, as I like to think that it makes it look like a bit of a cobbled pathway, like little stones that have been like placed together. And I think it just helps by breaking up the flat look of the rest of the stone. And I'll throw a little bit of cheeky gravel in there as well. Well, we've finally got all this laid, so let's go ahead and raise up the chests a couple of blocks so they're not underground. And one tedious task later, and we can finish this segment off by just bone mealing this area to blend it all in. And unfortunately, as I was running out of time, I didn't get the chance to build the big brewery that I wanted to add to our little Shire area, so instead I opted to build a few little market stalls to just liven the place up. And the last tiny job of the episode is to run around placing down all of the beds and doors in the little hobbit homes, making sure to also put down a job block to try and get as many farmers as we can so that they can farm food and help breed and build up the villager population. Then we'll place down the bell, which will mark the center of the village, but also just add a little decoration. Maybe not the best place, but it'll do. And with the sun setting, we can head back over to where we captured the villagers, and we can let them out. Well, the farmer's working away harvesting the crops, and I've managed to sort it out, so I'm going to consider that a success. But the real truth is, I set out with a grand plan and unfortunately couldn't get it done within the 100 days that I really anticipated that I could, which is a bit of a shame. However, I am going to go ahead and leave the episode there. Thank you so much for tuning in. Again, if you want to support the continuation of this project of building a huge fantasy world in Minecraft Hardcore, please consider hitting that subscribe button, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Goodbye!